If you've ever wondered what humanity's place is in a universe teeming with apex predators and ancient councils, then stick around till the end of this story. And if you enjoy these spine-chilling HFY tales of human dominance and psychological awe, don't forget to hit that like button, comment your thoughts on who the true apex predator is, and subscribe for more stories that prove why Earth is called a death world. Counselor Virex sat frozen in his seat, his scales itching with an old evolutionary reflex he thought long suppressed. The high chamber was silent except for the hum of gravlifts carrying in the towering containment cage. Its plating was so thick that even seismic scanners could not penetrate fully. That alone made every diplomat and security aide flinch in their seats. His claws tapped the data pad before him, eyes scanning the dossier projected in faint blue holographics. Human designation: Apex Predator Contingent 2-1. Species origin: Death World Delta 6. Known capabilities: unquantified. Known weaknesses. He paused, blinking slowly as the entry remained blank. None recorded. Beside him, Sub-Counselor Jurex adjusted his ceremonial breastplate, the metal scraping softly against his throat scales. No weaknesses. An error surely. Virex did not answer. His eyes remained fixed upon the cage. A deeper terror coiled within his chest as the transport finally docked into position. Dozens of containment locks disengaged in a rapid metallic sequence, and the entire hall trembled. There were over 600 sentient species represented in this chamber, each with a history of conquest and power. Yet not a single whisper rose above the clanging echoes of the locks. Every being present knew instinctively that whatever was behind that final wall of alloyed obsidian was something that had never been dominated. The chamber lights flickered as the last lock disengaged. A piercing, rumbling exhale emerged, vibrating the titanium floor beneath Virex's feet. His throat constricted. Slowly, with the grinding whine of servomotors straining under impossible weight, the gates parted to reveal darkness deeper than shadow. And then it stepped out. The apex predator's skull nearly brushed the 20-meter ceiling. Its shoulders were layered in overlapping natural plating like a living fortress. Its arms ended in claws the length of broadswords. Every step it took reverberated through Virex's bones. Its eyes, if they could be called that, were pits of black so endless they seemed to devour the light around them. It made no sound other than its thunderous breathing, as if each exhale was a distant avalanche rolling down from an eternal mountain. Virex watched its gaze sweep across the council hall. Every being it passed froze, some whimpering despite their species' pride. It showed no reaction. Until it saw him. Not Virex. Not the sub-counselor or any of the quaking guards lining the marble dais. Its attention locked onto a lone figure standing calmly beside the containment engineers. Human. Well. Small compared to the titan before him. He wore a dark uniform with no insignia beyond a silver eagle pinned near his collar. His brown hair was close-cropped, military style, his posture relaxed yet perfectly aligned. Where others flinched or shrank back as the creature's gaze burned into them, he simply raised one hand in a subtle greeting. The apex predator lowered its head. Its massive shoulders hunched as it folded down onto its forelimbs, claws curling inward against the floor plating in a posture that was unmistakably submissive. It made a deep rumbling sound, not unlike a boulder grinding across granite, but softened somehow, almost deferential. Who is that human? Sub-Counselor Jurex whispered, voice ragged with disbelief. Why does it bow? Virex tapped quickly on his data pad, scrolling past the Predator's file to the attached personnel manifest. The human's name glowed on the screen. Admiral Jan Mercer. Handler designate. The Predator shifted again, and a ripple of tension spread across the chamber as its claws gouged new lines into the titanium floor. It never broke eye contact with Mercer, who stepped forward, unarmed, unarmored, his boots silent on the polished surface. He stopped less than 2 meters away from the creature's massive head. Looking up at it was like staring into a living monolith. Easy, Mercer said, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber's audio enhancers. It was calm, firm, spoken in the unhurried cadence of one accustomed to command and unafraid of silence. The apex predator rumbled again, softer this time. Its breathing steadied, and it lowered itself further until its armored chin touched the floor at Mercer's feet. The silence that followed was deeper than any void. Virex felt his second heart begin to race as something primal sparked within him, a flicker of fear so deep it was buried in genetic memory. Mercer reached out and placed his hand upon the creature's muzzle. Its black eyes closed. The council chamber erupted in muted gasps. Admiral Mercer, Virex said, forcing strength back into his voice. You bring this entity before us with no suppression collar, no neural inhibitors, no failsafe kill switches. Explain yourself. Mercer turned to face him. His gaze was level, utterly unflinching. Because none of those would work, he said. This isn't a war beast you can collar. It's a force of nature. You can't dominate it with tech or pain. Jurex leaned forward. Then how do you control it, human? Mercer looked back at the predator, his expression unreadable. For a brief moment, the chamber's chill deepened as if reality itself recoiled from the truth about to be spoken. I don't control it, he said softly. It fears me. Virex's throat tightened further. Fears you? How is that possible? Mercer's eyes flicked back to the counselors, unwavering and cold. Because it knows that I'm the only thing in this universe that sees it not as a monster, not as a weapon, but as an animal that can be ended if it steps out of line. A tremor ran through the predator's colossal frame at those words. Not anger. Not defiance. A shiver of recognition. Mercer's hand remained upon its armored muzzle as it breathed in slow, controlled rhythms. Its claws flexed once, then retracted completely. The council chamber smelled faintly of ionized fear from dozens of species who realized at that moment that humanity's power was not in its ships or weapons, but in something far older. Mercer turned back to Virex. You wanted proof of humanity's value on this council. You wanted to see why Deathworlders deserve a seat. Well, here it is. Virex could not find words. None in the chamber could. Mercer stepped back. The predator rose to its full height, towering over everyone once more, but it did not roar or rage. Its gaze remained locked upon the small human standing calmly before it. In that silent instant, as the council chamber trembled with the weight of the predator's breathing, Virex understood the truth of their place in the universe. They had thought themselves the rulers of all life. But they had never met a human who could tame the very embodiment of death. And in the shadows of his mind, he felt a cold whisper of certainty. Whatever this apex predator was, it feared only him. The council chamber remained silent long after the apex predator was led to its designated enclosure, a reinforced vault beneath the council complex. Counselor Virex sat unmoving, staring at the data pad before him without reading a single line. His mind replayed the image of that colossal creature lowering its head in submission to a lone human. Submission was not a concept the council attributed to such a being. It was older than their civilization, born from a world that shattered countless exploratory teams and exterminated 3 separate Reaper-class cleansing squads. And yet, under Mercer's hand, it had trembled. He blinked as Sub-Counselor Jurex spoke again, his voice tight with lingering terror. We must understand. How can that human inspire such fear in it? It killed 500 armored personnel on Corix Delta within minutes. It shattered orbital drones with its bare claws. Virex inhaled deeply. Bring up the classified human logs. I want to see its origin. Everything. Moments later, the central hollow array flickered, displaying rough footage timestamped 5 years prior. A grainy feed showed the rocky plains of Deathworld Delta 6. The atmosphere flickered with static discharges and constant ash rain. Motion trackers focused on a group of armored humans moving cautiously through blackened brush, their weapons humming with powered coils. The recording zoomed in on Mercer, then a commander, his face streaked with grime and blood. His eyes were sharp even then, scanning his environment with predator-like patience. The audio crackled with shouts. Contact. It's moving in the ravine. Gunfire erupted in the distance. The camera jerked violently as a scream tore through the squad's comms. Mercer didn't flinch. Instead, he crouched low, pulling his rifle tight against his chest as something massive moved just beyond the thermal range. It emerged from the gloom like a living nightmare. Even in blurry footage, its enormity was undeniable. The first soldier to engage it vanished under a swipe of its claw, his entire upper body dissolving into red vapor. Another fired an anti-tank round directly into its chest. The explosion staggered it but did not stop its advance. It moved with terrifying precision, each strike deliberate and efficient, as if it understood exactly how to kill. Jurex winced as the creature tore through the remainder of the squad, leaving only Mercer kneeling in the ash. His rifle was empty, barrel smoking from rapid fire. He dropped it with a controlled motion, slowly rising to his feet as the creature lumbered towards him. Why didn't it kill him? Jurex whispered. The recording showed Mercer standing completely still, blood dripping from a cut across his temple. The predator reared back, its armored skull splitting open to reveal rows of obsidian teeth dripping with thick, dark saliva. Its maw enveloped his upper body, stopping mere centimeters from tearing out his throat. The audio picked up his voice, quiet, unwavering. No. The creature paused, teeth vibrating inches from his skin. Its massive chest heaved, hot steam rising around his head. Mercer didn't move. His eyes remained locked into the creature's void-like gaze. Seconds passed. Then minutes. Counselor VRX felt an involuntary shiver ripple down his back as the video's thermal overlay showed Mercer's body temperature dropping fractionally. His pulse slowed. His stance remained unflinching. Analysis, VRX ordered quietly. A human data analyst's voice, pre-recorded, spoke over the footage. Subject Mercer initiated passive dominance display. Reduced movement to 0, lowered heart rate voluntarily, maintained direct ocular contact. Predator species is instinctively threatened by prey demonstrating fearless stillness while within its kill zone. Interpreted as challenge or superior apex signal. The footage cut to a later timestamp. Mercer, now seated against a jagged rock wall, was eating a ration bar. The predator sat 10 meters away, watching him silently. Between them lay the shredded remains of his fallen team, half buried under drifting ash. Mercer tossed a chunk of his ration toward the creature. It sniffed the morsel, its armored snout brushing the dirt before swallowing it whole. Its eyes never left his. The analyst's voice continued. Over the following 48 hours, Subject Mercer fed the creature from his rations. At no point did he flee or lower his gaze. Physical injuries included fractured ribs, internal bleeding, and severe concussion, but Subject remained conscious to maintain eye contact whenever the predator approached. Jurex made a faint, disgusted sound. He fed it like a beast. It killed his entire team. Verex watched Mercer in the footage. Blood caked his hair, dripping down his neck in slow, dark rivulets. His breathing was labored, but his posture remained impossibly straight. His eyes never once flickered with visible fear. Instead, they held a silent, primal certainty. The recording ended with drone footage showing the creature following Mercer down the valley slope 2 days later. It moved with its head lowered and its claws folded inward, a submissive posture. Mercer walked ahead of it, his gait unhurried despite his injuries, leaving footprints the size of his entire body in the gray ash as the creature followed behind. The footage vanished from the projection. Silence reclaimed the chamber, deeper than before. Counselor Virex folded his hands, his claws clicking faintly against each other. In that moment he understood. Fear, he murmured. It fears him, because he was never prey. Jurex shook his head slowly. He tamed it through starvation and injury. That is all. Virex's gaze snapped to him, eyes burning with sudden cold certainty. No. It killed everything else. Could have killed him any time. But he didn't flinch. That's what it saw. The one creature it could not break or terrify. That is the difference. A chime sounded as an aide approached, scales pale with stress. Counselors. Admiral Mercer requests audience. Virex inhaled deeply, feeling the stale recycled air scrape his throat. Send him in. The chamber doors parted with a faint hiss. Mercer entered alone, hands folded behind his back, eyes scanning each counselor with the same unblinking calm the predator had witnessed days before. His face bore fresh scars, thin lines crossing his cheekbone from a recent encounter with the creature's fangs. He didn't bother to hide them. You have questions, he said, his voice deep and even, carrying across the vast hall without effort. Not a statement of arrogance, but simple observation. Virex leaned forward. Why does it follow you? Why do you refuse to use neural suppression or sonic deterrence protocols? Those are standard for containment. Mercer studied him for a long moment. The silence pressed down on the chamber like a physical weight. Then he said, because those would make it angry. And an angry apex predator is unpredictable. Fear, however, is dependable. Jurex snorted faintly. You are telling us that its fear is your only leash? Mercer's eyes shifted toward him. In that gaze, Virex saw the same unbreakable certainty that had stared down Death World nightmares without blinking. It doesn't just fear me, Mercer said quietly. It fears what I'm willing to do. Virex swallowed against the dryness in his throat. And what is that, human? Mercer's reply came without hesitation. Whatever is necessary. The silence that followed felt different than before. Not hollow or tense, but charged with the unspoken knowledge of power. Real power. The kind not given by political rank or hereditary claim, but born in the crucible of survival itself. Mercer nodded once, turning toward the chamber exit. As he walked away, Virex saw the faint limp in his stride, the small hitch in his breathing. Signs of human frailty. And yet, the predator still bowed to him. Because in the end, it was not the strongest or fastest that ruled the galaxy. It was the one who never surrendered. The Rex exhaled slowly, his heart beating a little faster as Mercer's silhouette vanished into the waiting shadows beyond the chamber. His mind raced with questions. Why had humanity truly brought such a creature before them? What was their ultimate aim? And what price would the Council pay for underestimating the one species capable of taming nightmares? As the lights dimmed for adjournment, a quiet certainty settled in Virex's chest like a cold stone. This was only the beginning. Councillor Virex stood before the towering windows of his private chambers, watching the stormlight dance across the spires of the Council city. He could still hear Mercer's voice echoing in his mind, calm and certain, carrying the subtle weight of someone who had stared into death and found it lacking. Fear is dependable. Whatever is necessary. Words spoken without bravado, only truth. Behind him, Sub-Councillor Jurex paced with agitated strides, claws clicking against polished black stone. This is madness. We cannot allow a single human to wield such power unchecked. It undermines the Council's authority. It undermines everything we stand for. Jurex did not turn to face him. His reflection in the window flickered with each pulse of stormlight. And yet you saw what I saw. You felt it. That creature bowed to no species in the galaxy. Except him. Jurex stopped pacing. He is one human. We are the Council. Virex finally turned. His gaze cut through Jurex like a vibroblade. And the Council is nothing if a single unarmed human can control what terrifies us. A chime interrupted their silence. The comlink activated automatically, revealing the holographic projection of Commander Durith, captain of the Council Guard. His armored scales gleamed under tactical lighting, eyes narrowed with professional determination. Councilors. Per your request, preparations are complete. We have containment teams ready to relieve Admiral Mercer of command and transfer the Predator to direct Council authority. Jurex straightened, his chest expanding with fresh certainty. Excellent. Proceed at once. Virex raised a clawed hand. Wait. Do you understand what you're attempting, Commander? Do you comprehend the risk? Durith's snout curled in faint disdain. With respect, Counselor, I have neutralized rampaging juggernauts on Taith Prime and conducted orbital boarding operations against Reaper hives. My team is prepared. Virex studied him for a long silent moment, then nodded slowly. Very well. Proceed. The comlink closed. Jurex exhaled with relief. Finally we will regain control. Virex did not answer. His mind replayed Mercer's final words again and again. It fears what I'm willing to do. His claws tightened against his robes as dread coiled around his hearts. In the depths of the Council complex, armored guards moved in precise formation through reinforced corridors. The Apex Predator's containment vault loomed ahead, guarded by layered blast doors and automated plasma turrets. At their head walked Commander Durith, his expression unyielding, his mind focused on procedure. Inside the vault, the creature lay curled around itself like a coiled mountain of armored flesh and clawed limbs. Its breathing filled the vast chamber with rhythmic thunder, each exhale rippling across the reinforced alloy walls. Standing calmly before it was Admiral Mercer. His hands were folded behind his back as he watched the creature's sleeping form, unblinking, unflinching. Durith raised a fist, signaling his team to fan out along the walls. Plasma rifles hummed as safeties disengaged. Two guards advanced, heavy shock collars cradled in their gauntlet hands. Mercer did not turn to face them. I wouldn't do that. Durith stepped forward, his armored boots echoing. Admiral Mercer. By order of the Galactic Council, your command of this entity is terminated. Step away immediately. Mercer's gaze remained fixed on the Predator. Its massive chest rose and fell, steaming breaths curling into the cold recycled air. You're making a mistake. Stand down, Durith barked. The guards approached swiftly, moving to slip the shock collar over the creature's armored neck. In a single instant the chamber changed. The Predator's eyes snapped open, black voids flaring with inner bioluminescence. It rose from its coiled position with terrifying speed, claws slicing deep furrows into the alloy floor as it surged forward, placing its massive bulk between Mercer and the advancing guards. Its growl rumbled like tectonic plates grinding together, shaking every armored soldier to their bones. The shock collar clattered to the floor as one guard stumbled back in blind terror. Hold your positions. Durith shouted. But his voice cracked with primal fear as the creature's maw opened wide, rows of obsidian teeth dripping strands of thick saliva onto the floor. Its claws extended, each larger than a human's entire torso, gleaming in the chamber lights. The predator roared. It was not a sound of rage alone. It was fury layered over hatred, layered over a territorial dominance that predated stars. The force of it struck every soldier like a physical blow, rattling teeth inside sealed helmets and cracking visors along their edges. And then, as quickly as it rose, it fell silent. Mercer had raised one hand, palm out, fingers relaxed but firm. Down. The word was quiet, almost gentle, but it carried through the roaring silence with absolute authority. The predator's massive head shuddered. Its claws curled inward, scraping sparks across the metal floor. It lowered its body until its chin touched the floor at Mercer's feet, eyes closing, chest heaving with deep, shaking breaths. A whimpering rumble escaped its throat, vibrating the chamber like a distant quake. The guards stood frozen, their weapons trembling in armored grips. Durith stared, eyes wide with horror beneath his visor. Mercer lowered his hands slowly and turned to face them. His gaze moved across each soldier before settling on Durith. There was no anger in his eyes, no triumph. Only calm certainty. "Do you understand now?" he asked softly. Durith swallowed, his throat convulsing visibly. It obeys you." Mercer nodded once. "Because it knows that only I can end it." He stepped forward, passing within centimeters of the creature's massive armored skull. It did not move. Its breathing remained ragged and low, head pressed firmly against the floor in total submission. Mercer stood before Durith, his voice quiet but filled with unbreakable iron. "You came here thinking this was a beast you could leash. But you didn't ask why it obeys. You thought you could force it, dominate it, herd it into compliance." Durith tried to speak, but no words came. Mercer leaned forward slightly, his eyes locked onto the commander's with silent intensity. "It's not fear of pain that keeps it docile. It's fear of disappointment. It's fear of the only being in its universe that never flinched when it bared its fangs." Durith stepped back unconsciously. The hum of plasma rifles faded as soldiers lowered their weapons, eyes flicking from the human to the towering creature pressed into submission at his feet. Mercer turned away from them, placing his hand gently upon the predator's muzzle. Its massive frame shivered under his touch. A faint, almost pained whine escaped its throat as it pressed its armored skull into his palm. "Leave," Mercer said without turning. His voice was quiet, final, absolute. Durith hesitated, then signaled his team. One by one, they backed away, never taking their eyes off the creature that could end them with a flick of its claws. The chamber doors sealed behind them with a deep boom, leaving only Mercer and his monstrous charge in the silent vault. Counselor Virex watched the live feed from his private terminal, every detail burning itself into his memory. Jurex sat beside him, trembling despite the climate controls. This is insanity," Jurex whispered. "He controls it with words. With touch. That is not protocol. That is not how power works." Virex did not respond immediately. His gaze remained fixed upon Mercer's silhouette on the screen, standing beside a creature that could slaughter entire battalions. A creature that now lay curled around his legs like a loyal hound. Finally Virex spoke, his voice barely audible. "You're wrong. That is exactly how true power works." He closed the feed, his reflection flickering against the darkened screen. In his hearts, dread and awe coiled together in silent understanding. They had tried to seize control of the predator, believing its power could be harnessed. But what they failed to realize was that true dominance did not come from technological leverage or fear of death. It came from something far older. The quiet certainty of a being who knew no fear. The calm authority of a man who saw monsters and remained unmoved. Virex leaned back in his seat, eyes closing as a shiver ran through his chest. Whatever came next, the council's balance had shifted forever. And in the quiet corners of his mind, a single truth whispered like a prophecy he could not ignore. This was only the beginning. The great arena beneath the council chambers had not been used in centuries. Built for trials by combat and ritual executions, its obsidian walls curved upward into darkness, lined with flickering gravlights that cast harsh shadows across the black alloy floor. Today, those shadows danced around something far more ancient than ceremonial bloodshed. Counselor Virex stood upon the observation platform, claws clasped tightly around the rail before him. Sub-Counselor Jurex hovered at his side, his scales dull with tension. Below them, the apex predator paced in slow, deliberate circles. Its massive claws scraped sparks from the floor with each step. The entire structure trembled faintly beneath its weight. In the center of the arena stood Admiral Mercer. He wore no armor, only a reinforced utility suit marked with scuffs and faint burns. His face was calm as always, unreadable in its quiet certainty. His brown eyes followed the creature's movement, unblinking, unflinching. Virex leaned closer to the observation crystal. "Is this truly necessary?" Jurex hissed under his breath. "We must see if his control holds under duress. This demonstration is critical before deploying it to suppress the rebel systems." Below, massive containment gates slid open with grinding force. Automated drones rolled into the arena in precise formation. Each drone bristled with plasma turrets, electrified harpoons and shocknet cannons. Their armored hulls gleamed under the grav lights, humming with lethal potential. The Predator stopped moving. Its void-black eyes tracked the incoming drones, chest expanding with a low, thunderous growl. It flexed its claws, armored plates shifting with an audible grind. Sparks cascaded around its limbs as it tensed. Mercer raised his hand slowly. "Wait." For a brief moment, the creature froze, its breathing ragged but controlled. The drones advanced in unison, targeting reticles sweeping across the Predator's enormous frame. Its growl deepened, echoing so loudly that dust rained down from the upper walls. Virex's claws tightened against the rail. "This is madness. They're provoking it to the edge." Jurex shook his head. "They are demonstrating its combat potential. Watch." The drones opened fire. Blazing plasma rounds slammed into the Predator's armored hide. The air filled with the sizzling stench of scorched chitin as the creature roared, the sound vibrating deep into Virex's bones. It reared back, slamming one massive claw down upon a drone, crushing it like brittle glass. Another drone fired a shock net. The Predator twisted with impossible speed, slashing through the electrified cables before they could tighten. Its tail lashed out, sending two drones skidding across the floor in smoking fragments. Mercer stood completely still at the arena's center, eyes tracking the creature's rampage. The Predator tore through the final drone, its jaws closing with a crunch that split alloy plating into glowing shards. Its massive chest heaved, saliva dripping from its blackened teeth as it turned to face Mercer. Its eyes glowed with primal fury, shoulders rising in an intimidating display. It was death incarnate, a god of annihilation given flesh. And then Mercer raised his hand. "Enough." The word was quiet, almost gentle. But the creature froze as if struck by a force far greater than any plasma blast. Its claws curled against the shattered remains of a drone, scraping screeching furrows into the floor. Its breathing accelerated, chest shaking violently with each ragged exhale. For a moment it seemed torn between instinct and command. Mercer stepped forward, his boots crunching through twisted metal. The Predator flinched as he approached, lowering its massive head until its armored snout nearly touched his chest. Steam rose around them, the temperature differential creating swirling mist that coiled up into the flickering lights above. Mercer placed his hand upon its muzzle. Its entire frame shivered under his touch. The great shoulders hunched inward, plates folding slightly as it released a long, trembling exhale that rattled the arena's reinforced walls. Its claws retracted fully, limbs folding inwards until it lay prone before him, eyes closed, breathing steady but shallow. Virex felt a deep chill settle into his bones. Around him, aides and tacticians watched in stunned silence. Even Jurex seemed momentarily speechless. Mercer turned his gaze upward, locking eyes with Virex through the observation crystal. His expression was unreadable, but his voice carried perfectly into the silent chamber. "Do you understand now?" Virex swallowed, feeling his second heart pounding against his ribs. "Understand what, Admiral? That fear is not the tool you wield against it. Fear is what keeps it from becoming something even worse." Jurex found his voice again, sharp with untempered arrogance. "We are the Council. We will deploy it as needed. Your services may no longer be required." Mercer's gaze shifted to him, cold and direct. "Try to separate it from me. See what happens." The Predator rumbled beneath him at those words, a sound so deep and resonant it seemed to warp the very air around it. Its tail curled protectively around Mercer, armored plates bristling like a creature ready to kill without hesitation. But it remained still, obeying his touch. Virex exhaled slowly. In that moment he understood the truth beneath the demonstration, a truth that unsettled every layer of his mind. This creature was beyond any leash they could forge. The only leash it knew was the will of the human standing before it. And that leash was not made of fear alone. "End the demonstration," Virex said quietly. Mercer gave a single nod. He turned back to the Predator, scratching gently along the base of its armored snout. The creature rumbled softly in response, its massive form relaxing further, almost curling around his small silhouette like a protective shield. As the arena gates began to close, Virex stepped away from the rail, his mind spinning with calculations and strategies. But deep beneath those thoughts lay something darker and more immutable. They had built their civilization upon control, upon the certainty that power could be quantified and leveraged. But as he watched Mercer walk calmly beside a creature that could extinguish planets, he realized humanity's true terror. They were not apex predators because of their strength, technology, or adaptability. They were apex predators because even nightmares feared them. He turned to leave, ignoring Jurex's questions. The echo of Mercer's quiet command, "Enough," still rang in his mind like a prophecy. Above the arena, stormlight flickered through the great windows, illuminating the silent council halls. And for the first time in centuries, Virex felt something stir within him that no technology, no wealth, no authority had ever inspired. Fear. Not of the creature, but of the human who tamed it. And in that moment he knew with unbreakable certainty. This was only the beginning.